But at the same time, Uzbekistan's choice is want to keep the multi choices, and China's interest is taking the Uzbekistan's or taking the influence towards Uzbekistan. So this means reducing the influence of the Russia's interest for China. So that's why the two countries thinking differently. So this means that even if they cooperate
Yes.
each other, still their interest is different. We should not forget it. That is my analysis. Thank you.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Dr. Satoru Nagao for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. China's Vice Premier He Lifeng held a bilateral meeting with former U.S. National Security Advisor Stephen Hadley in Beijing. Has said that the recent meeting between the Chinese and U.S. presidents in Busan has set the direction for future economic and trade ties. He has stressed that both nations shared broad common interests and that trade should remain the stabilizing force in China-US relations. He Lifeng has also expressed hope that the Atlantic Council will help advance stable economic cooperation and briefed Hartley on the latest CPC Central Committee commission. Hartley has praised the progress made by both leaders and said he will continue to support dialogue between the two countries. Now we move on to Asia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has held a bilateral meeting with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese in Johannesburg on the sidelines of G20 summit. Both leaders said ties remain strong and agreed to deepen economic defense and security cooperation. Albanese has also offered condolences for the Red Fort terror attack and the Saudi bus crash that killed several Indian pilgrims. South Africa is now hosting G20 under the theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, while Prime Minister Modi also said he will present India's vision of one Earth, one family, one future, and will also join the IBSA summit on the sidelines. Now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar. He's a senior strategic and international affairs expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for joining us again. Good to see you. Major General Doctor, looking at this news, how do you think India's growing international influence is now being showcased in G20 amid US's absence and only few big countries joining G20 now?
Subha, I think this
Thank
is a
you.
passing phase because I don't think the influence of G20 is going to wane because G20 is a very, very strong forum. It has and a very inclusive one, and especially if we look at the global south, uh, there has been a move by India in G20 summit in Delhi, if you remember. The African countries were co-opted into this multilateral organization we have. And G20 has got a lot of relevance and significance, and especially when we talk about a digital economy, when we talk about furtherance of taking a digital infrastructure forward. Uh, a second aspect is about climate change, climate energy. We are talking about renewable energy and climate cooperation. Third is uh, the same, continuing in this same vein, uh, the future of energy is in green hydrogen, solar energy. So we are looking at these avenues and trying to uh, further the technology we have. We will be sharing with other countries. Countries will be sharing with each other. So it's a very important forum. And uh, uh, then one more important aspect is in G20, we also discuss counter-terrorism because terrorism is now a global phenomena. you can't say that it is restricted to India, Pakistan, China, or South Asia. Uh, Terrorism is happening everywhere. Middle East, West Asia is a testimony to the fact that how deadly terrorism can take shape. If you remember, 7th October incident, 2023, where the Hamas carried out this deadly strike in Israel, and what was the retaliation? We have lost approximately 70,000 people after that. So I think these are very important issues. The next important G20 brings in a very interesting facet is trade and economic engagement. And we have seen that whenever a summit takes place, there are bilateral meetings also, because that is the plus point of this summit. Because when such a large number of countries come together, you you may not have the head of states all the time here because of some sort of commitments they may be having. But a sufficient senior in the hierarchy of that country is attending, either a number two or number three is attending. So when we discuss the economic and trade cooperation, that is also a very important facet where in the bilaterals also a number of trade agreements are there, and we have seen the head of states coming with slightly larger delegations when these meetings are held, because they want to discuss trade, commerce, and all these things, and especially when we see geopolitical churning taking place in the world today, because everybody is threatened by the vulnerable supply chains. Because in any sort of incident happening in any part of the world, the supply chains get disturbed. So one is looking to discuss with other countries on alternative supply chain. And the
Yes.
last important aspect is space and technology cooperation. We have seen a lot of discussion on cyber and space. So this is the future. So
Yes.
when we talk of the future, these summits become extremely important, and therefore I feel that it will continue to remain relevant.
Yes, and Major General Doctor, as you rightfully mentioned, the benefits of G20 being bilaterals, as we know that one of them just held was India-Australia bilateral. So what does India and Australia share in common in their Indo-Pacific strategy and security priorities in this region?
Very good question. You
Thank
just
you.
and one important aspect we have a renewable energy partnership with Australia, and this was launched in the last summit. This partnership focuses on solar PV, green hydrogen, and storage of energy, and a two-way investment in renewable energy products as well as capacity building. So I think from from Australia's perspective, exporting critical materials required for green technology like lithium, cobalt to India is a very important part of this bilateral. From India's side, it's all about securing the supply chains and the transition of energy. The second important aspect in the bilateral is that both these countries share a comprehensive strategic partnership in defense and security. And here in this sidelines, we are going to emphasize, or we emphasize with Australia, how to further the security cooperation between the two countries, because there is a very subs, significant increase in the maritime cooperation. As you would remember, the joint exercises, we Navy of those two countries and spreading maritime domain awareness. So And the third aspect is the defense industry cooperation, because India's defense industry is now emerging into a very important one. And with the critical minerals coming from Australia, there will be a scope for technology sharing. Then this bilateral is extremely important in the area of trade and economic development. And as per the Australian embassy figures, the two-way trade between the two countries has reached $49 billion. So it's a significant a momentum, I would say, that both sides are working on a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement, as it is called, is SICA, and it is building on the existing economic cooperation and trade agreement ECT. So through this framework, we are looking at emphasizing a rule-based multilateral trading system. And in this joint partnership statement, both the countries are committed to the WTO reforms and strengthening the trade rules. And the next and the last important aspect is education, mobility, and people-to-people ties. Because we have seen that Australia and India, people-to-people ties are growing very, very strong. And this is central to the relationship between the two countries. Australia has a working holiday maker visa scheme for the Indians also. And the MATES, it is called, and there is another scheme which is called MATES, a mobility arrangement for talented early professionals. So both these schemes are being expanded, and I'm sure that there would be a deeper institutional education links between the two countries. New consulates have opened in Bangalore and Brisbane to strengthen the cultural, trade, and educational ties. And my last point is about space and technology. It's extremely important because Australia plans to launch satellites on Indian launch vehicles in 2026.
Yes.
So there is this joint space industry initiative. On the innovation front, we have the 2+2 dialogues on defense and foreign affairs. They have launched the RISE escalator.
Yes.
Rapid innovation and startup expansion. So I think we are going miles and miles ahead with our cooperation with Australia, and I think in the times to come, it's going to be a game changer in this region.
100%, yes, we'll be eyeing that. Thank you very much, Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar, for joining us and sharing that insight as a senior strategic and international affairs expert. And that's a wrap on the China Report. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates.